All right, at this time, I call to order the Finance Committee meeting, and we'll get started with Agenda Item 2.1, review and discussion to extend the proposals on maintenance. Okay, so the date is Tuesday, March the 1st, 2022. So we start with 2.1, review and discussion to extend the proposals on maintenance-related needs district-wide, open bids for an additional one-year period, RFP 0221 MRN.
So we have a list of vendors that are not necessarily part of co-ops, but are able to be utilized through board approval. And this is the first of two extensions that are allowed. Does anybody have any questions about any of these vendors?
When you say the first of two extensions, we're allowed 2 extensions per year, is that correct?
This
Or-
is,
Or,
go ahead, sir.
I'm asking, what does that mean?
So when we go out for bids, we tell them that this contract is going to be for 1 year. Well, this bid will be good for 1 year, and it is allowed to be extended for 2 additional years. So, no, sir, it's not an automatic renewal, which is why we take it to y'all, so that we can make sure that we first review all the vendors to make sure that they are in good standings with the district. They've provided the services that we need. We didn't have any problems with anybody, and all of these vendors have done very well. And it really does behoove the district to have these vendors that are local at our disposal so that the maintenance department can use.
For clarity, once we approve these vendors, I know with co-ops, we don't have to go out for bids. When we approve these vendors, do we have to go out for bids on projects?
No.
Okay.
These are so that we can, the CH Local does say that you can either use a co-op, you can use 3 quotes, or any other board-approved vendor. So this would satisfy that requirement of CH Local.
So when we get things to be approved, because this was something that was foreign to me when I first got on the board. When you present something that's for approval, and it's a vendor, that means they didn't have to go out for a quote.
Correct. And the purchasing method will be on the bottom of that 25,000 and higher. I do ask that they put the purchasing method so that they could, so that you can see that we've either used a co-op, we've used a board-approved vendor, and you'll see that number that's on the top, that RFP 021 MRN. You'll see that number on that quote. So, or if it is a quote, it'll note quote, and it'll have all 3 quotes attached.
Okay, yeah. I think there's some confusion when that stuff comes to us, so it's very good that people can see on board docs exactly where the
Yes, ma'am.
bid is coming from.
Next agenda item, 2.2,
Can we have that as an agenda item, ma'am?
agenda item.
Thank you.
2.2, review and discussion of proposals for the RFCSP 0222 ERCNH, E-rate year 25, funding year 2022 and 23, internal connections.
So I will not pretend that I know all of the E-rate inner workings, because that is a very intricate process. So if Mr. English, would you mind?
Good afternoon, board members,
Good
administrators.
afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
So E-rate is a yearly process. It's treated like anything else. We go out for bids, we find the bids, we approve the bids, and then we implement them the next year. E-rate will pay for about anywhere between 80 to 95% of it based off of a current free and reduced for the district. We've done this every single year. This year, we're continuing on with what we did last year. We're finishing off the projects that we did. That's why there are three bids that we did. The first one is for wireless access points to finish off the remainder of the buildings, to complete them. The second one is for the network switches to power those access points and to boost the overall bandwidth for each of those campuses. And then the final one is a new firewall for the district, bringing it up to current standards. And those are the 3 items that we're bringing to you today.
Had you worked with these companies before?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Are these new companies to this district?
No, ma'am. NetSync was approved last year, so they were new last year, but they are, I've used them in previous districts as well. They are a good, solid company. Insight is new to me, but not to this district. They've been used by this district for several years. And so good companies overall, they know what they're doing, and the prices, you can't beat the prices.
Okay.
Any questions, concerns? No? No more questions? So that becomes an agenda item. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you so
English.
much. Have a great day.
Agenda item 2.3, review and discussion regarding update of feasibility study.
So as we discussed earlier, the feasibility study is, we have a quote coming from Moat Casey. I don't have that with me. I talked to him on Friday morning Thursday afternoon, excuse me. And I can tell you that he did quote $300 per hour, and he said that it would possibly be about 10 to 15 hours. So we're looking at about $3,000 to $4,000 right now so that he can come over and present. As soon as he gets that, I will let you know, and then we can move forward with having Mr. Haney present if that's what y'all choose to do.
Is he going, before we approve the feasibility study, is he gonna provide us with a scope of what is gonna go into that?
That's a good question. I can ask him if that's something that he does. Like I said, I'm not familiar with it. If there's a certain path that y'all want us to take, by all means, let me know and I can accommodate that.
What would be a different path?
Right now, the scope per se would be offering alternative tax rates and what it looks like as far as impacting the district's funding from the state. That's the level of participation that I have from Moat Casey at this point. I also know that he's going to offer some information on Propositions 1, Propositions 2 that are coming into for elections, which will also offer some community tax relief. So that way y'all are aware of what that looks like on that end and how that might impact the district. A lot of those are hold harmless, but there's 2 propositions that are gonna offer some tax relief, both to increasing the homestead exemption from 25 to 40, and then there's one that's going to cap off disability tax rates at 65. So there's a couple of them in there that are coming up, but those won't come to fruition until May, whenever those elections are.
Ms. Pettis, can you reiterate the name of the person you talked to from Moat Casey?
Josh Haney.
Josh Haney?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Perez, at this point, I'm going to make a request for us to get a few more quotes from other companies, not just Moat Casey. And Mr. Weller, if you're able to assist the district with that?
Sure, I can look into financial advisors that might be able to provide those services if you'd like.
Yes, sir, please.
For items such as this, Mr. Weller, we don't, we're looking for, if we're recommending to look at other companies or other people to help us out, do we need to go out for RFQs? Or not necessarily?
It's going to depend upon how much they anticipate they might spend. If it's in line with the figures that Ms. Bettis mentioned a moment ago, it might not.
Okay.
But of course, that might just be for initial consultation. So that's a good question, and I think we would need to explore that with Moat Casey and or others just to get a sense of how much they anticipate it might cost. Because if it does exceed a certain amount, then you might need to go out for an RFQ. But they also may be exempted, so I can look into that for you.
I'm not gonna contradict the request. If Ms. Lopez is making a request and you can look at maybe perhaps finding other financial advisors that might be able to help us out. The only the concern that I would have is the time and how that's going to affect our budgeting process. And do you have any comments on that? I know we heard from Ms. Pettis, but what can you tell us in your experience? Will it prolong us being able to get our budget done in a timely manner?
Well, if it's going to change, if it results in a change in the tax rate, then that might impede the process a little bit. But if it's of an analysis about whether a change in the tax rate is appropriate and they determine that it's not, then of course it won't.
Okay.
I would defer to Ms. Pettis on that in terms of all the specifics, but just as a general proposition on this point, I think that the first step the district ought to take before examining a change to the tax rate might be whether the budget supports a change in the tax rate without creating effects that you don't want to the district's operations or to funding levels from the state and things of that nature. So those are just my general thoughts.
Thank you, sir.
I had a question, Ms. Perez. Didn't you say Ms. Mo Casey had a quote for us? Or did they work on it already, or?
They gave me a general quote, and then I did ask for him to put it in writing so that we could attach it. That was on Thursday. I know that he was at Region One on Friday, so he was unavailable. And I did remind him yesterday, so
Okay.
I do have a quote forthcoming from Mo Casey.
Okay, just asking.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Do we, what is the likelihood of this going past the level that would necessitate a RFQ, that would necessitate the RFQ process? And what's the probability of it exceeding that? Not, so we wouldn't have to? Okay. Because that would be an even longer process to, and that would definitely delay our budget.
We'll go ahead and include this as an agenda item with additional quotes from the district. Any committee concerns, questions? Additional quotes from other companies. Quotes, Quotes.
So for clarification, ma'am, we're going to have this as an agenda item, and Mr. Weller, you are going to reach out to some other vendors, is that correct?
Certainly, I can do that right away.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. At this time, we adjourn, and the time is 6:11. Thank you.